everyone and welcome to today's video. So in this video I'm going to be covering the creepypasta The Blue Pendrive. So this creepypasta was actually suggested to me over on Tumblr, and I'm going to be covering the original one because there is a remake, but I'm going to be covering the original because I thought it's quite interesting to cover the one that came out literally a few months before Sonic.exe. So it is another Sonic creepypasta, but it does give you like a little background into it. You'll see if you click the link in the description below that I've put in. It has both the remake and the original on there, and it gives you a little background. And I believe the person that commented on my post said something like that as well, that it was literally a few months before Sonic.exe. A lot of people actually prefer this version, so I thought, you know what, it'd be quite cool to cover over on my channel. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking with the Blue Pendrive. So I'll tell you about something horrible that happened to me 2 weeks ago. I couldn't keep it to myself for any longer, so I decided to write it down in order to keep myself sane and remind myself that what happened is real. It all started one night. I received an unexpected visit from a friend. His face was pale and his body was shaking non-stop. In his right hand he held a blue pendrive that he slowly brought to my face. "Take it," he whispered, slightly unsettled. I obeyed, placing the pendrive in my pocket. Immediately after that, my friend put his hands on his face and started to cry silently. His crying got louder as time went on, to the point they turned into agonising screams. I got horrified and attempted to ask him what was going on with him. He suffered for a few seconds on the ground and he stopped breathing. I yelled, calling anyone that was around for help. Until my mother answered, I'd rather not remember the rest. So it's like got itchy nose. There we go. So the day of the funeral was one of the most disturbing ones I have lived through. Watching his entire family mourn and cry for him made me feel horrible. The autopsy revealed the cause of death was an epilepsy attack, and they never asked me for my version of the story. Never knew why. When I arrived home, I enclosed myself in my room and started to cry, thinking about the moment of his death over and over again, until I remembered the pen drive. I rapidly looked at the basket of dirty clothes I had, looking through the pocket of the pair of pants I wore that day, and then I found the pen drive. At first I doubted whether I should plug it into my PC, and to this day I regret having done so, but I eventually decided to see the contents of the pen drive. After having turned it on, I looked at its contents. It only contained one folder in a strange language I couldn't understand, and which I haven't been able to decipher to this day. It contained a file called Sonic_D_Hedgehog missing .exe. I noted the name wasn't correctly written, but I didn't care too much about it at the moment. I tried to open the file, then an error message popped up saying something about the file that I tried to open not existing. I remembered the mistake in the file's name and I corrected it, adding an E to the word hedgehog. It allowed me to open the file afterwards. I then remembered my friend was a big Sonic fan, which unsettled me a bit when realising that fact. But I calmed down because of the fact the file was about the friendly blue hedgehog. After loading the game, the screen faded to black, showing the text reading out "loading" with 3 dots that appeared and disappeared in a constant rhythm. "It's a fucking game," I exclaimed, not being sure how to feel about this. I waited for the game to load, and it eventually showed a colourful 8-bit scenery with Sonic's emblem in front of him, with him wagging his finger like in the classic games, alongside the typical title screen music. For a moment I thought this had nothing to do with the death of my friend, until I saw the smaller text in the menu. In the portion of the screen dedicated to the Sega 1991 copyright credits, there was some text written in the seemingly exact same strange language of the folder. I felt chills go through me when I noticed. After that I simply decided to press enter and move on. Rookie mistake there. This guy clearly hasn't been reading some of these creepypastas. Anyway, let's carry on. The level was the same one as the original version, Green Hell. I could use the arrow keys to move and the spacebar to jump. The characters' physics were normal, just as they were in the original game. It all went just fine until I made a mistake and got hit by an enemy. In the original game, the rings you collected would be spilled once you took damage. However, this time, instead of the rings being spilled all over the place, there was a completely red squares coming out of Sonic. Well, that's not exactly child friendly, is it? Not exactly the Nintendo game we all love, no doubt. Anyway, I digress, let's carry on. My optimistic mind thought it was just a bug, but deep down I knew this wasn't a good sign. I kept going until I cleared the level, but when the Act name was displayed on the screen, instead of the typical Green Hill Act 2, there was a lot of garbled text written in the strange language I previously mentioned. The background was not normal this time, it was a plain blood red block that seemingly was slowly pulsating as time went on. I did get scared at that point. I tried to close off the game immediately with the escape button, but it wouldn't work. So I tried to press any buttons in desperation. Control Alt SUPR, not sure what that button is. I'm just looking on my keyboard now. Unless it's Shift, I guess that's the closest one. Let me know in the comments below if you guys know. None of them worked. As the screen distorted itself violently, my desperation grew. At some point, a really bright flash began rapidly flickering on the screen, and somehow it paralysed me. I couldn't move or close my eyes. I could only watch the horrible things going on the screen. Excessively disturbing female screams started blasting on my speakers, while the screen displayed a close-up of Sonic's face crying blood as the words RIP started appearing everywhere around the screen. The screams didn't stop. In fact, they only got louder as time went on. I started to cry, still unable to move, and then I started shaking. I'll end up just like him, I thought, horrified. The screen faded to black once again, and the screen stopped too. I desperately fought in an attempt to move, but all my efforts were in vain. On the screen, an enormous red number 10 showed up, which then changed to 9, 8, 7. I have to get out of here, I thought, still unable to move. 6, 5. With my biggest efforts, I was able to move a finger, then my head, my arms, and then my entire body. Once the countdown got down to 2, I jumped at the ground, covering my head as if I were in some sort of shootout. I heard a horrible female scream similar to those that sound in those jump scare pranks that appear all over the internet, except this one was scarier and even worse. It was even more prolonged. I rapidly unplugged my PC's cable, then I did the same with the pen drive, and stomped it until it was torn into pieces, completely destroyed. The nightmare was over. I couldn't stop shaking after what happened. I eventually dried my tears and left the room. I never told anyone about it until now. Maybe I should just forget about it. Sometimes I believe I shouldn't expose my life out of mere curiosity. It's not worth it. However, if there's one thing I'm sure of, it's that regardless of whatever happened at the end of that countdown, I don't ever want to know what it was. And that is the end of the Blue Pendrive. So I actually did enjoy that one. That was quite a good one, and it was cool. Instead of letting the countdown actually finish, he actually managed to escape. Whereas like in a lot of these creepypastas, like the people know what's going on. They know it's like messed up. Something messed up's gonna happen. They're gonna get killed or whatever, but they'll carry on playing. Like with the Mario Kart one that I've covered recently, or with the other Sonic.exe, the players always carry on playing the game. Whereas this dude, as soon as like shit got real, he was like, nah mate, I'm getting out of here. Like my friend just died, like who gave me this freaking pen drive. I am not like dying as well. So I did quite enjoy that one. It was a shorter one, but I did actually quite enjoy it. It was, especially for the time that it's written, because let me just double check the year. So I know he's back in that. Yeah, I mean like in 2011, that's when the original one was published. So it was quite well written actually, and it was quite cool how they did it. But yeah, I could kind of see why people say it's like Sonic.exe. You know, with the corrupted file, and with Sonic with the blood coming out of his eyes and the weird stuff going on in the game. I just love the fact that you just unplugged the computer and destroyed the pen drive, as you don't really see that in Creepypasta. So that was quite an interesting one, to be fair. But anyway, let me know what you all thought. I hope you all enjoyed. And if you haven't already, then I'm going to do a little cheeky plug and check out my Sonic.exe video. I'm going to leave it as a card, so if you go on my description, you'll find it there. But yeah, Sonic.exe is a longer Creepypasta video. I covered it, I think it was a few months ago now. But that one is a good one as well. I enjoyed them both, so go check it out. I'll leave a link to this video. But anyway, if you all enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Let me know what you guys enjoy, and if you have any suggestions for any future videos, be it creepypasta related or just something really random, then by all means suggest it. You know, if it sounds interesting, then I'll cover it. I'll do some research and I'll cover it, because why not? But yeah, and you can either let me know in the comments below what you thought of this creepypasta, and if you have any suggestions for any future videos. You can let me know over my socials. I'll leave them all linked to the description below. Or if you're just a bit shy or you don't have social media, which I don't blame you in this day and age. Oh, word. But anyway, I don't blame you if you don't have social media. If not, and then just drop me an email. My email's in my YouTube bio, and I shall see you all in the next one.